if you look at the screen now, you see a command. We've got this poster around school. There are 30 other schools that have this poster in them that encourage other Christians in those places to set their minds on things above. That's hard to do. That is so hard to do. We have so many distractions, and somehow setting our mind where it should be is a difficult proposition. But I'm going to challenge you for the next few minutes to do that. Set your mind on Jesus, because he's got something in mind for us today. And our theme this week is from heaven above comes the Anointed One. I just want to think about that word anointed for a second. It could be translated the Messiah. It could be translated the Christ. You could almost even translate it the baptized one. And Jesus wants us to think about the fact that the Anointed One, that's him, the Messiah, the Christ, came to proclaim peace to a world in conflict. You guys know about conflict. We see it on the news. We see it in our homes. We see it in our classrooms. And we even see it in our hearts. So we're all quite familiar with conflict. And we've got a passage we're going to think about. Now, I can't read it from there, so I've got to read it from here. It's from Acts chapter 10. And in Acts chapter 10, we have a wonderful account of some hikers. And I'm going to ask you maybe before the end of the day, when you've got nothing else to do, just to read Acts chapter 10, because it's a wonderful account of love. And the portion we're going to think about from that section is these words. You know the message God sent to the people of Israel, announcing the good news of peace through Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all. You know that what has happened throughout the province of Judea, beginning in Galilee after the baptism that John preached, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and power, and how he went around doing good and healing all who were under the power of the devil, because God was with him. Recall that our theme is that the Anointed One comes to bring peace in a world of conflict. And I'm going to show you a couple of family pictures. Now, unlike Pastor Hebner's family, my family basically is a disappointment. But you can see me right there, and that is my son Noah, and that is Forrest Wu, my Chinese son. And we have a tradition on Thanksgiving Day to go hiking, and we try to hike the Glacial Drumlin Trail from Dousman to Lake Mills. I haven't made it yet because it's a little bit too far, but these are my two blood children. That's Noah and my daughter Hannah, and we were hiking on this trail, and right about here, we left Dousman, and we wanted to get all the way over here to Lake Mills, but right about here is where the conflict started. We're hiking along, minding our own business, and I don't know if you can see this joker, who came up behind us, and because we were dressed in vibrant colors, and this was Thanksgiving Day, he accused us of being deer hunters. And he was all upset that we were hunting deer. And I tried to explain to him, he was a man about my age, I tried to explain to him, we're just hiking. We're going from my house, basically, to my sister-in-law's house so we can have a good Thanksgiving meal. And he kept insisting, no, you are hunting deer. And I said, we're walking on this trail. And then Forrest Wu, who doesn't like to put up with much that's negative, he said, is there anything we can help you with, sir? And the man got mad and called him a smart A-double-S. And that got me upset. So I said, this is a respectful young man. And I yelled at him a little bit. And it got me so upset. It got me so upset. The conflict, and I realized I wouldn't do well if I had a lot of conflicts in my life because I would get so angry. And here's another guy in conflict right here. His name is Peter. And he was conflicted in Acts chapter 10 because he was supposed to go on a hike too. He was supposed to go from down here in Joppa up to Caesarea. Now, I only made 15 miles. Peter was going to have to go 33. He was going to go on a big hike, and he was supposed to meet somebody that he shouldn't meet. He was supposed to meet a guy who was a foreigner and a soldier and a man of blood. He was supposed to meet the centurion whose name was Cornelius, and he was supposed to go into his house. And there is no way a Jew should go into the house of a Gentile. And Peter was conflicted, and it took a miracle of God to get him convinced to go on his hike, because Cornelius needed to hear something from Peter. And the Lord sent a vision to Peter, and the message that said, "What I have made clean, you had better not find dirty." And Peter went to Cornelius. And he went to Cornelius, and he met them. He went into the house, and he preached the good news of peace to him. I'm going to read this for the third time. "You know the message God sent to the people of Israel, announcing the good news of peace through Jesus Christ." See, Cornelius was a God-fearing man, and somehow he must have learned a little bit about Jesus, but he didn't have enough knowledge, and Peter had to fill that knowledge out for him. "Announcing the good news of peace through Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all. You know what has happened throughout the province of Judea, beginning in Galilee after the baptism that John preached, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and power, and how he went around doing good and healing all who were under the power of the devil, because God was with him." See, a lot of people have proclaimed peace. You recall the angels that came to those shepherds in Bethlehem. They proclaimed peace, that there was going to be peace between God and men. But unfortunately, within a couple of years, there was conflict, wasn't there? I think a lot of those dads in Jerusalem, I don't know how many, maybe as many as a dozen. I said Jerusalem, I meant Bethlehem. A lot of those dads in Bethlehem felt like this dad, picking up a dead child of 2 years old and under. The angels proclaimed peace, but the world said, "Oh, no, conflict," because the evil king said, "I'm going to get rid of those threats to me." See, there's so very much conflict. And sometimes conflict can come to us without us doing anything wrong. I had done nothing wrong. I was walking down a trail that was open to the public. But this gentleman said I was at fault, and that really irritated me. Peter had conflict in his life too. This is a famous painting by an Italian artist named Caravaggio, who shows Peter being crucified. He got all his conflict in his life, ended up being crucified, and he did nothing wrong. But conflict can come to us. And you guys are like Cornelius. I'm going to read this passage again, but I want you to see yourselves. You know the message God sent to the people of Israel. You know that. Announcing the good news of peace through Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all. You know what has happened throughout the province of Judea, beginning in Galilee after the baptism that John preached. How God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and power, and how he went around doing good and healing all who were under the power of the devil, because God was with him. You know that, but yet you've got conflict in your life, and some of it, and I would suggest that much of it, in fact, maybe most of it, is self-inflicted. You get yourself into trouble and conflicts because of the pride that fills your heart. You can't get along at home the way you should because you're not willing to follow directions from authority figures. Maybe you have trouble at school because you've just refused to listen to your teachers. That's all of us. Self-inflicted wounds that we put on ourselves. And it doesn't happen to us. We make it happen to ourselves. That's called sin. You've experienced it. We all have. And I like what this author wrote. He said, when we are our own worst enemy. And he tried to write an essay on how to solve that problem. Well, it can't be solved. It only could be solved when someone went on a hike. There was another hiker, his name was Jesus, and somehow he was moved to hike from his home in Nazareth all the way down. I don't know which route he took, but he went to the Jordan River, where he was baptized. And we heard yesterday so eloquently how he fulfilled all righteousness. Now, we're going to injure ourselves, but Jesus, by allowing himself to be baptized and then allowing himself to be crucified, and by his own willingness to fulfill every law perfectly, he removes that burden from us. All those self-inflicted things, and maybe all those things from the outside of us, he just takes those away and puts them on his shoulders. And he leaves us with another promise that I think is worth our mentioning. Now, some of you know that I work in the admissions department with Mr. Wetzel, and one of the things we like to encourage parents to know about our school, that it's a safe school with very little conflict among the students. But does conflict happen? Does it happen every year that someone gets expelled from school because they don't know how to deal with conflict? Seems like it always happens, and that really hurts. It hurts that we don't know how to get along, even when Jesus has empowered us. And he's left us a promise through the Apostle Paul. Let me read this to you. No temptation has overcome you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Now, I had a pastor teach this passage in an interesting way. I've got to teach you about the word you. I went into Commons yesterday and I said, "Hey, you." And Mr. Perez looked at me. And then while I was taking his picture, the people around him kind of went crazy and they were making gang signs. And I said to them, "What's wrong with you?" Do you see the two yous? You singular, you plural? Well, the pastor taught me about this passage. And he said, and God is faithful. He will not let you, singular, be tempted beyond what you, plural, can bear. I'm going to read that again. God is faithful. He will not let you, singular, be tempted beyond what you, plural, can bear. I was upset. I wanted to punch that guy right in the nose. I got a temper, and it got the best of me. And if it hadn't been for those two who loved me and said, "Dad, it's nothing. Let it go," maybe I'd be in jail now because I beat up an old grandpa. Yeah, but they were there to support me. And that's what we can do for each other around here. You know when people are getting upset, when the you singular is being tempted, and you can, plural, intervene to prevent any problems. You can encourage them, "Hey, it's not worth it." You could even remind them spiritually, Jesus has forgiven you much. It is going to be so easy for you to forgive this person a little bit. And then Mr. Wetzel and I, when we go out and visit with grade school parents, we can say, "Yeah, we do have a safe school," because our students support each other. Our students love each other enough to encourage them to be forgiving. See, our theme was, the Anointed One came to proclaim peace in a world of conflict. I changed it a little bit. The Anointed Ones, that's you. The Anointed Ones proclaim peace. You have the privilege of being peacemakers, and Jesus says you are blessed when you do that.